Libra, someone is too afraid to tell this truth, but there is no other choice. There's something the people around you know, something they carry in silence, something they realized long ago but haven't been able to tell you yet. Not because they don't love you, but because they love you in a way that paralyzes them at the exact moment they try to speak. Have you ever noticed that moment when someone starts a sentence and stops halfway through? Changes the subject without warning, as if a choice were being made? A word swallowed, an idea that didn't make it to the end? You probably thought it was all in your head. Too sensitive, you were interpreting where there was nothing to interpret, but it wasn't. It was real. And it happened more times than you're willing to count. There's a truth silently swirling around you, constant, charged, present in every pause of conversation, that the people who know you best haven't yet been able to say aloud, not because they're cowards, but because when they look at you, they see something that intimidates them in a way they themselves can't explain, and so they fall silent. And you continue, and life goes on, but there is a limit to how long a truth can remain contained before it begins to hurt the person who carries it. And you, Libra, probably don't know it, but you crossed that line a long time ago. You grew up believing that harmony is your natural calling, that balance is what you do best, that when things weigh too heavily on one side, your role is to weigh them down on the other. And you learned this so deeply, so completely, that you became almost invisible in the process. Think about it for a second. How many times have you adjusted what you were going to say before speaking? Not because you changed your mind, but because you realized that the actual version of what you thought would generate discomfort that you didn't want to be responsible for creating. How many times have you put aside your own feelings because someone else's feelings seem more urgent, more fragile, more of a priority at that exact moment? And that was it once, then again, then yet another time, until it becomes a habit, until it becomes part of your identity, until you reach a point where you can no longer distinguish what you truly feel from what you've learned to feel so that everything keeps functioning. And that's exactly what the people around him realized, but haven't yet had the courage to name. They saw you fade away. They saw you give in. They saw you smile while holding something that weighed heavily on you. And they remained silent, not out of carelessness, not out of indifference, but because you always seemed to be able to handle it. Because you have this almost unsettling ability to transform what hurts you into something that seems completely under control. And this gift is at the same time the most beautiful thing that exists within you and the most expensive thing. Because the price of always seeming like you're coping is that nobody knows when you're not. And here's where the real problem begins. Because it's not just that people become quiet, it's that you learn to fill their silence with the best possible interpretations. You convince yourself that everything is all right, that they are all right, you are all right, and the world continues as normal. There's an elegance to it, an almost painful beauty in the way Libra manages to build peace within situations that are anything but peaceful. But every construction needs a solid foundation. And when the foundation is emotions that have never been spoken, neither by you nor by others, what seems like balance is, in fact, a scale suspended in mid-air, empty on both sides. Do you know that feeling of thinking you're fine, but when someone asks how you really are, something trembles inside before you can answer? That's not weakness. It's not oversensitivity. It's a sign that there's something waiting to be said. Something that hasn't yet found words, something that someone around you has probably already named, but it hasn't reached you yet. And when you stop to think about it, that there's a truth about you that the people around you carry without being able to say it, what do you feel? Is it relief at finally naming it? Or is it that silent recognition of someone who already knew, somewhere deep down, that something was waiting? It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose arrives at a specific moment, not as a prediction of what will happen, but as a mirror of what is already happening within you. For Libra, it addresses something that few books dare to name: the real cost of forcibly maintained harmony, the difference between true balance and empty balance, and what lies on the other side when you stop carrying the silence that was never yours. It's not a book about what to do. It's about recognizing what you already are and what has been kept hidden for too long. You're now at a point in the video where you've probably recognized something in yourself, something that hurt a little when it was named. And this is the best time to act, not later, when life returns to normal and this realization dissolves into daily life. Now, while it's still alive within you, the link is in the first pinned comment. But be aware, this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. Tell me in the comments, is there a truth about yourself that you feel the people around you notice but never say? How do you think it would be to hear that truth out loud? And here's something no one has told you yet. The people around you aren't quiet because the truth about you is small. They're quiet because it's too big for the space you occupy when you're on autopilot. Because you have that way about you. Every Libra has it. It's the way you adjust yourself slightly, even before entering a room. You quickly gauge the environment, who's doing well, who's not, what's in the air, and recalibrate yourself accordingly. It's not cowardice. Don't confuse things. It's a genuine instinct, an intelligence you've developed over years because at some point in your life, you realized there was a certain security in being the balancing element of the environment. A logic, almost a power in being the one who keeps everything running. But that instinct comes at a cost that you haven't factored in. When you shrink, even slightly, even just by a few centimeters, the people around you notice. Not consciously, not with words, but they notice. And they also notice that there's more. That slightly smaller version of you isn't everything. That there's a whole, complete version of you that you're holding within a space that has become too small for it. And the weight of knowing there's more to you than you're showing silently accumulates in the people who love you. They carry it. They carry the image of the complete you that they glimpsed in specific moments. In a phrase you said without thinking, in a laugh that escaped without calculating, in a firm stance that lasted 2 minutes before you backed down. And they cherish those moments. And they remain silent about the rest. Because saying you're bigger than the space you're occupying sounds like an accusation. It sounds like saying you're doing something wrong. And the people who love you don't want to accuse you of anything, so they keep it to themselves. And they wait. And they hope that you'll get there yourself. What you just heard, that image of you adjusting to fit into a space that won't bother anyone, is exactly the kind of pattern that the digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, addresses head-on, specifically for Libra. Not with promises that everything will change overnight, but with the clarity of where your genuine strength is being directed to the wrong place and how to redirect it. Libra doesn't need more balance. It needs true balance which begins from within, not from constantly managing what others feel. If this pattern resonates with you, don't let this moment pass. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And why do they remain silent? Why does someone who is by your side every day, who knows you better than you sometimes know yourself, still hold back a truth that could help you? There is something Libra does, unintentionally without realizing it, that makes it very difficult for others to approach them with discomfort. You create security. That sounds like a compliment, and in part it is. But there's a side that complicates everything. When you're the person who always finds the balance, who always knows what to say to prevent the situation from deteriorating, who always remains calm when everything around you is shaking, you unintentionally become the person others don't want to destabilize. There's a cruel paradox in this. The more you care about other people's balance, the more people start protecting you from that same imbalance. And this protection, born from genuine love, admiration, and real care, ends up functioning as an invisible barrier. It's not that they don't trust you. It's that they trust your ability to stand so well that they're afraid of causing any tremor, like someone walking carefully alongside a delicate structure. Not because they doubt the structure, but because they don't want to be responsible for anything that might make it shake. And then they calibrate what they say. They calibrate how much they reveal. They calibrate the depth of the conversations. And you feel it, even without knowing how to name it. You feel there's a thin pane of glass between you and the most honest conversations. And sometimes you try to break that glass. You ask how people really are. You make space for the difficult. But people smile, say everything is fine, change the subject lightly, and you let it go. Because insisting seems intrusive, and Libras rarely insist, but the glass remains, and so does the truth it holds. But there comes a time. In every Libra's life, there's a moment when their composure cracks. Not dramatically, not with tears in the middle of a crowded room, or words spoken in the heat of something that can't be undone. That's not how Libra cracks. It's more subtle than that. It's more like antique porcelain, that kind of fine crack you notice first on your own, long before anyone else even suspects it. It's the feeling of waking up one day and realizing you're tired in a way that isn't physical. An exhaustion that doesn't show up in the mirror, that doesn't have an easy name, that doesn't go away with a good night's sleep or a relaxing weekend. It's the exhaustion of being an anchor, of being the constant point of balance for everything around you, of absorbing, adjusting, yielding, holding on, and never having a place where you can simply not be that. And when that crack appears, two things happen simultaneously inside you. The first is the impulse to hide, to fix things quickly before anyone notices, because showing the crack would mean showing that composure always had, a real cost. And Libra has a complicated relationship with that. Showing the cost seems like admitting that something was wrong, and nothing was wrong from your point of view. You were just doing what you knew how to do. But the second thing that happens is different. She is quieter and, in a way, more powerful. A part of you, the part you silenced most often, the part whose words were swallowed most often, the part that yielded more times than it should have, that part begins to demand space, not with screams, with weight, with a presence that grows silently until it's no longer possible to pretend it's not there. And it is precisely at this point that the truth that everyone around you was keeping hidden becomes unsustainable for them as well. Because you begin to appear as what you always were, someone who needs space to be whole, not just balanced, whole. This exhaustion you've just recognized, not the physical tiredness, but the exhaustion of being the anchor for everything around you without ever having been anchored by anything, has a name and a path. The digital book, the divine path that guides your zodiac sign to a life of purpose, was designed for this specific moment, when the crack appears and you finally realize how much you've carried. For Libra, it precisely illuminates what lies behind this exhaustion and shows what exists on the other side when you stop bearing the weight of everyone's balance alone. Available now, but with limited availability. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. So, what is the truth? The specific, concrete truth that the people around you are so afraid to say. Here it is. You are greater than the version of yourself you have presented to the world. And before you interpret this as cheap self-help, like the kind of phrase that sounds good but doesn't change anything, let me be more precise. I'm not talking about potential in the abstract sense. I'm talking about a concrete, specific version that the people around you have already seen. That exists in flashes, in moments that you probably didn't even consider important enough to remember. That time you spoke without thinking, and the room went quiet in a good way. That way where people feel like they've heard something real. That time when you stood your ground firmly, and instead of the discomfort you expected to create, the people around you seemed relieved, as if they had been waiting for it. That time when you fully occupied the space of who you are, even if just for 2 minutes, even if before stepping back, and something in the atmosphere became more honest, lighter, more genuine. The people around you cherish these moments. They know that's where you truly belong, and they feel like saying, you don't need to go back to that calculated equilibrium. Stay here in this version, but you always come back too quickly. And so they keep that truth to themselves, not out of malice, but because saying you're shrinking feels like an accusation. Saying you're bigger than that feels like a judgment on what you've done so far, and nobody wants to make you feel like you were wrong for doing the best you knew how. So they fall silent and admire and wait and carry a truth that you needed to hear for much longer than you imagine. And what happens when you hear this, when the truth finally comes out, whether through a video like this, a silence that weighed too heavily, or an unexpected conversation that changed something inside you? The first response is usually resistance, because hearing that you've occupied less space than you could have implies that you were in some way complicit in it. And Libra has a particular sensitivity to this idea. Nobody likes to discover that they participated in something that went against themselves, especially when they did it with the best intentions in the world. But here's what's important to understand. You didn't do it out of weakness. You didn't adjust, yield, or calibrate out of incapacity or primal fear. You did it out of a relational intelligence that is genuine and rare. You read environments. You calculated impacts. You protected things that were important for you to protect. All of this came from a real place, from an instinct that in many moments served both you and the people around you. The problem wasn't the instinct, it was that it stayed switched on for too long, without a break, without a space where you could switch it off and simply exist as you are, messy, incomplete, uncalculated, completely human. And now that you know this, now that this pattern has a name and a shape, something begins to reorganize itself internally, not necessarily in your external life, not visibly to anyone yet, but in how you read yourself, in how you interpret tiredness, in how you understand the silences that the people around you have kept. And this different perspective is just the beginning of a choice that only you can make. There is no other choice. Not because it's a moral obligation, not because someone is asking you to change to be easier or more palatable to the world, but because you already know. And knowing changes the equation in a way that there's no going back. Once you know, there's a version of yourself waiting, one with firmer opinions, a more honest presence, a space it occupies unapologetically. Pretending not to know is far more exhausting than simply letting that version exist. You already know that you have feelings that were filed away for later, and that later has been indefinitely pushed back. That you have thoughts that you started thinking but didn't finish, because calculating the impact took all the energy that the thought would need to complete itself. That you have a voice, not the adjusted voice, not the voice calibrated for the environment, but a voice that speaks what it really thinks, without preamble, without checking the cost of each word before uttering it. And the choice to start letting that voice come through more often doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. You don't need a speech, you don't need a rupture, you don't need a cinematic moment where everything changes at once. Libra doesn't work that way, and you know it. It's a small choice, in how you answer a question without adjusting your response beforehand, in how you take a position without first checking if it will destabilize something, in how you accept receiving, not just offering care, space, honesty. The people who were afraid to tell you this truth, they didn't need to be afraid. You were ready. You always were. The truth they kept hidden for so long wasn't going to break you. I was going to let you go. The choice you're feeling right now, to let the most complete version of yourself emerge, small and real, has a tool that can guide you precisely. The digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose, was created exactly for this moment, when you already know something needs to change, but you're still unclear on how to begin without destabilizing what you've built. For Libra, it reveals the most specific blind spots, those that Libra's own intelligence creates when managing its surrounding environment. It's practical, it's direct, and it's available now with limited access. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Libra possesses something that few other signs share: the ability to feel the weight of an entire environment, the unspoken tensions, the unnamed discomforts, the fragile balances that everyone feels but no one sees, and still find beauty there. To still build bridges where there was only distance, to still remain. This is not a flaw. It never was. It's an emotional intelligence that goes far beyond what most people can access. And the fact that this intelligence came at a cost, that it taught you over time to occupy less space than you deserved, to hold on to more than you should, to calibrate when you could simply be, doesn't erase the value of what you carry. But today, something has changed. Even if discreetly, even if only internally, something has been reorganized. You learned a truth that the people around you were too afraid to say. And you listened, and you didn't break, because you would never break with the truth, only with the lack of it. What remains from here on out is simple, but not insignificant. The permission to be whole, to occupy the complete space that you are, to no longer need to diminish your presence to maintain anyone's peace. Because when Libra is entirely Libra, without the calculated version, without the automatic adjustment, the world around it doesn't crumble. He becomes more organized, and the people around him can breathe a sigh of relief. And the truth that has been kept hidden for so long finally finds the place where it should always have been, spoken aloud, between you and the one you love.